Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, welcome to our Wednesday class, coming to you from here in HeartLight. For you that are joining us online, we want to welcome you. And you that will catch us later on YouTube, we want to welcome you also to this class. We're exploring, and all of these classes are about exploring. None of these are supposed to be absolute in any way. It's not saying this is what we believe. We're exploring a lot of data and information to see if it resonates with what we say we believe. Does that make sense to you? And if it doesn't resonate with what you believe, then you have an opportunity to adjust what you believe. And how you know when to do that is when there is a resonant of what we call the law of resonance with your own innate intelligence center. In other words, it's something that comes alive in you, and you get what I call a quickening. Everybody understand a quickening? A quickening is a deep gut knowing, and the brain may not catch up with that right away because you're not really coming from your brain's intellect, you're coming from your innate intelligence. And that's two different things. So, as I have done my best to get to how we work with this, is that we get what we get at the time we get it. What we don't get, we put it on the shelf, not judge it right or wrong, good or bad, but hold it, because we feel if we hold it long enough without making a judgment on it, then it will resonate with our own innate frequency. Okay? Now everybody has to understand that. Yeah. Hey, good morning. So let me kind of go through that again one more time. I come from a place that everyone has all of the knowledge they need to live the optimum lifetime. I don't think you're empty and then you gather all your knowledge outside of yourself. But we do have that because that's what we used to do. When we sat in religions and churches, they taught us what to believe. You know, it was in the dogmas, in the doctrine of the religion of the church. And therefore we kind of took that into ourselves. It's those things that we're trying to see, do they need adjusted? Is what Spirit's saying in resonance to my belief system that I've qualified? If it is, then there is a resonance with you. If it isn't, then there might be a little challenge going on between your head and the heart. And that's what you don't want to judge quickly and say, okay, I went through my entire belief system in my head and I don't think we believe that. So therefore, because he said what I don't believe, I'm not going to qualify that. I'm going to qualify it as wrong. You don't. Hold it neutral. Hold it in a neutral place in yourself. And then if that is for you, and it may not happen right in the class today, but it may happen to you tomorrow or in a week or in a few days when you're just meditating and doing your inner work, that all of a sudden you get this aha moment. Oh my, that's what he was saying. So you don't have to get everything that I'm saying at the moment that I say it, because I'm not talking to your head, I'm talking to your spirit. And your spirit knoweth all things. Your spirit does not need to be taught. It holds all the innate knowledge of what we call Christ's consciousness or divine mind, however you want to refer to it. If you're more comfortable with divine mind than Christ's consciousness, but you're talking about the same thing. It is innate intelligence. Okay. So, unfortunately, as we've come into these bodies and we've identified more with our physical, material, outer self, we've lost a lot of that innate intelligence. Because I think you were versed before you got here. You've already been prepared for this lifetime. I really do. And I've been blessed to have my experience of that, but I can't have your experience of that. If anybody here has had that experience, or you want to have that experience, then ask. Ask your higher self. Ask the Holy Spirit, how did I prepare for this lifetime? Okay? So as you know, I went through a thing where I was told that I had to choose to live 4 lifetimes in this lifetime to attain this level of consciousness that I'm attaining right now. In other words, where I am and where I'm teaching you would not have been in this lifetime. I'd have had to live 2 or 3 or 4 more lifetimes ahead. Now that's why maybe you feel like I'm doing so fast, because of the fact that it's already been done. I've already had the conversation with my divine board, which I stood before, and they prepared me for this lifetime. Everything. So my scripture for that is always, we were found in him before the foundation of the world, found holy and blameless with all spiritual blessings. So that means something has gone on between you and your spirit soul before you ever incarnated. And a lot of that was not you were just told or made to buy into this is the way it's going to be. You were part of the co-creative process of choosing what it was going to be. That means what family you're going to be born, what race, what gender, what your sexual orientation is going to be. For a lot of people, that's already set before they come, because that's the things in their lifetime that is going to be the things that are going to be their evolutionary drivers, that's going to drive them more toward their awakening point. Sometimes the things that feel the best and are so spiritual are not the things that move us. Nope. In fact, the opposite. If things get too much of a blessing and things get too much right the way you want it, the more you get into a state of indifference. It's been the tough times. It's been the times you've had to dig deep. It's the time that you were desperate enough that you had to make time to study, research, and do something like that. So all these things are all working toward our highest good, however they feel or we perceive them to be. Because not a one of you would be where you are today. I mean literally sitting in that chair, but I mean in consciousness, if it had not been for everything that's happened to your life since you were conceived. Amen. And it started in the womb. And the scripture said, I knew you from the very before I formed you in the womb. So that's what we're trying to remember. Whereas a lot of people think they're out here running from teacher to teacher to teacher, trying to find knowledge because they don't have it. Because in 3D, we still come from the premise of lack and a belief in lack, that I don't have it, I need to get it, who's got it for me? And religion said, whoo, here we are. We've got it for you. But here at HeartLight, we're trying to teach it's already in you. And that's where we come with this idea of what is called the Holy Spirit. Says that I will lead you, guide you, teach you, and bring all things to remembrance. How many of you remember in the churches you were in, there was a communion table, and it said, in remembrance of me. Oh, yes. Think about remember. Again, member. Re is again. Remember yourself, right? So that's what this is all about. The second thing I want to say before we go any further is why we are looking into some of these ancient texts is because they've been edited out and not been available to humanity for thousands of years, some of them. But because we're coming to the cycle of the end of the age, everything that's been edited out from us has to be restored back to us so that we can be sure and have a fulfillment of 3D. You don't want to destroy 3D. You want to fulfill 3D. This is why it says that Jesus said, Yeshua said, I come not to destroy the law, but to fulfill the law. You're here to fulfill, not destroy. Are you with me? So you're here to fulfill. So the fact that these lost manuscripts that we're dealing with here has shown up and become popular, and it took a long time. I mean, this is 1945, the year I was born. I'm 79 years old, so that means over 70-some years, this has all just kind of been there, but nobody's done anything with it until around the 70s, then things begin to be more popular. I remember seeing these here in Charlotte. I was ministering at Unity of Charlotte, and these were traveling around the country, these lost books. And some place downtown, we all went and looked at the original lost books of the Bible.
Dead Sea Scrolls too.
Yes, the Dead Sea Scrolls. And my goodness, that was back in the late 80s or somewhere. So they've been around, they've been going around, but right now there is a focus on it, especially with us because of the fact that a lot of what we have today that's been modern text, including the Bible, has been so interpreted and reinterpreted and translated and retranslated that we really have no real idea what they said. So we're just making a lot of this up and either believing it because we like it or not believing it because we don't like it. But now it's time for real knowledge. It's time for gnosis. It's time for direct knowledge. Okay? So that's why we're looking into these particular books. Probably the most famous one that most people know about is the one that we're going to start talking about today, which is the Gospel of Thomas. The Gospel of Thomas is a collection of 114 sayings attributed directly to Jesus. You got to realize a lot of things in the Bible were noted by other people that this is what Jesus said, and nobody even lived at the time that he was here. Nobody in the Bible at all lived. Paul didn't live in the time of Jesus. He had an experience with him later, but he wasn't here when Jesus was walking the earth. And most all the people in the Bible did not know it. So these are hearsay. These are just stories that's been passed down and the best. But what we're giving you here is pure. It has not been messed with because the monks, probably Essene monks, who in Upper Egypt said by divine revelation, let us hide these things so man cannot deal with it, and they will be discovered at the right time at the end of the age. Wow. And this is called the restitution of all things spoken by the mouth of the prophet in the Bible. All things, everything that has been given to us will be restored back to us. Everything that's been everything that's been in secret shall be revealed. Everything that has been hidden in the archives of religious institutions, such as in Rome and the Vatican, will be made available and has been. Dan Brown made a lot of things available in his books and his movies. A tremendous job that really challenged organized religion, his work. So you have to hand it to that. And there's others that have done that too, that has really dug into and found out that there are bloodlines in those archives, bloodlines of Jesus. That Jesus was a person of a bloodline. He wasn't a poor carpenter and no place for the room in the inn. He was a craftsman. That's what that means. He was a craftsman, and he knew the craft. He knew the craft. He had gone to the mystical schools. He had gone to those in Britain and other places, and he had learned the deep hidden things. So anyway, this starts out, the secret words that the Savior spoke to Judas Thomas, which Matthias. Now Matthias is the one that is writing this at the time that Jesus is saying it. So there was a scribe, just as Connie did all that for all those years on Wednesday. Hi, Connie, she's probably with us. Has transcribed everything that I said for 2 or 3 years. So I've had my own personal scribe who's been scribing everything and writing it down for all this time. And I've got a lot of pages of stuff that she did. Well, this is what was happening here. He said that he wrote down while I was walking and listening to them speak to one another. The Savior said, Brother Thomas, while you have time in the world, listen to me. Now, I got to remind you, nobody was speaking English. So you're not alone there. Nobody was speaking English. That wasn't their root native language at all. There was probably no English at the time Jesus walked this earth. So they spoke in their own tongue, in their own language. How they framed it was in their culture and all of that. And that's what's been missing, I think, in religion that should have been being taught to our children in Sunday school, was about the culture that Jesus lived in and the people of the Bible lived in, their customs and that type of thing. But that has never been mentioned because we've assumed that all of this started and originates in the English language. And that's why I think that really, I'm going to say this to you. Even though I was able to realize that nobody spoke English and started looking it up in the Hebrew, the Greek, and the Aramaic, that got me closer to spirit. English is a little far from spirit. It's taken over German as the language of technology. And some people are not happy because you've got to speak English words about computers and whatever, because we are the country now of great technology. So our language in the world that is technological is English, right? It's more left brain. But when you get into things like, even probably the highest frequency to me would be Sanskrit. Probably the highest be Sanskrit. And then you have ancient Hebrew, not just Hebrew, but ancient Hebrew, which would be more embraced in the Kabbalah. That's probably the more pure, which, by the way, was Aramaic first before it was Hebrew. Yeah. So Aramaic actually was the original thing that the Hebrews were using back until that was done away with, and then it became more orthodox type of language. So anyway, when I got into looking it up in Hebrew, Aramaic, and whatever, I got close enough to tune in to spirit. When I'm speaking the left brain languages, technological languages, I'm not that close to spirit. Spirit's over here, I'm over here. So there's a big gap. And let me tell you who loves gaps in consciousness. Ego. Ego loves to fill in blind spots in consciousness with illusion. With illusion. Okay? And that's what we're doing here. We're filling in these blind spots. I mean, my goodness, 18 years missing in the Bible? Don't you think that 18 years, something must have been said of importance that has been edited out? Okay, so I hope that's okay with you. That I'm saying by using certain language, we're getting closer to be able to tap into the vibration of the language. Now, I'm going to say this too. This is why light language is showing up. Because behind the Aramaic, behind the Hebrew, behind the Sanskrit, behind the Greek is light language. That is the most pure of all language that you can speak, is let light speak its own language through you. by using geometrical symbols and sounds. And when somebody's really doing light language, they're doing geometrical sounds. If it could be understood, you would see that all of them would probably be following the Fibonacci scale. I'll guarantee you, if we could take, sometimes when it comes out of Leslie or myself, or when it happens and shows up here, I wish we had some way to measure that and to do what do we call it in the Soul Energetics, where we put the sand on the plate.
Oh, yeah.
Cymatics.
Cymatics.
Cymatics. That was a big thing we used to in Soul Energetics. You put sand, you put a violin bow, and it makes a design. Then you change the sound, it makes a different design. And that's called cymatics. So what's in the language is very important. And when light language slips in here, which it's doing, we're not trying to make it happen. I'm not trying to make it happen. I don't think Leslie's trying to make it happen, but we that are doing it, it's just, we are open to it, and it's just happening. And when it's doing it, it's creating new patterns in your consciousness that's not in your brain.
Right.
Ooh, I gotta say that. Yeah, it's a cymatic thing that's happening. These sounds that are going on that you find so strange and so odd, and I don't know what's going on and what they're saying, are all patterns of sacred geometry that is patterning your consciousness into new patterns that you've not used ever before in any language that you've learned outside of yourself. It's your inner language. It is the language of pure light. So, about that. Enough about that. So, listen to me. In other words, get it direct. No filters. Don't go ask somebody else what I said.
That's right. That's right.
I'm here right now. I like that. And I will reveal to you the things that you have pondered. What's another word for pondered? Thank you. Yes, ponder is contemplate. So the things that you have contemplated in your mind. Now, since it has been said that you are my twin and true companion, examine yourself and learn who you are.
That's good.
So everything that I'm telling you is that we are sharing an identity. Are you hearing me? You're just as much I am than I am.
Yeah.
Phew, are you with me?
Yeah.
Huh? That's the twin. Every one of us here have a twin self in each other. The I am that I am is an I am that you are. I love that. I love that. He said, examine yourself and learn who you are and what way you may exit and how you will come to be. Now, I like that. I can't help but hear all these things in spirit. You know, I just can't take the letter. But I want you to hear that in spirit. I'm just hearing it right now. First, examine yourself. Quit trying to take care of everybody else and what they believe. You're here to work on yourself. It's okay. Because religion told you not to do anything for yourself,
True.
but for everybody else.
Yeah.
And I'm here to tell you it's okay to give yourself time, give yourself opportunity, give yourself the position and place to examine and research. Examine yourself and learn who you are and how you exit. Oh my God, I love that. What are we trying to exit? Oop, I'm going to ask a question here. Sorry, but I'm going to ask the question anyway.
We all went.
What are we trying to exit?
3D.
Huh?
3D.
3D simulated world that we live in. It's time to not be in the world or of the world, but Jesus said, I'm out of the world. Two different things. You got to first be in the world and not of the world before you can exit the world.
Right.
And a lot of you have started this maybe a few decades ago, I don't know when you really started your journey into metaphysics and new thought and all of that, but that was when you put your foot on the right path. Hear me, because there's two paths. There's a path that seems right, but the end is death. Mm-hmm. Then there's the path of the just that shineth brighter and brighter unto a full and perfect day. So are you on the path that just seems right? Or are you on a path of enlightenment, that you're receiving moments of enlightenment? Well, I think when you left the religions of the past that has influenced you and you came out of that, you know, the cry in Revelation is, come out of her, my people, and be no more partaker of her sins. And it was talking about that which is on the 7 hills of Rome. It was talking about the first organization of Christianity on the 7 hills that would be the mother of how to manipulate and control people. And out of mother came her daughters, and that was out of Catholicism came Protestantism is the daughters. Protestantism means Catholics who protested the Pope.
Yeah. Oh, really?
And that's all Protestantism did. Henry VIII just said, I want a divorce, but the Pope won't give it to me, so I'll start my own church. So he started the Church of England, in which it was okay to divorce and marry who he wanted to. And that became the Church of England. So that's the daughter of her. That's the daughters. So the fact that you have made it out of the system is what I'm saying. You've made it out of the world religious system. And you put your feet on a path toward enlightenment. And you've found that you've learned how to be in the world and not be of it. You've learned even how to be in your family. Love your family, be with your family, and still not be totally of the family. Isn't that right? Isn't that right? I just don't talk about it. I just don't bring it up on Christmas. And probably that's smart. You don't need to go in and start preaching to your family about it. But you've had to learn to be okay with the fact that you know what they're thinking of you about what you're in, and be okay with it and still love them and have that family connection with them. I commend that to all of you who have done that. You're able to do that. I think it's amazing. And you didn't have to give yourself away to do it. So anyway, it's time to come out. Come out, come out, come out, wherever you are. And so this is going to be a big thing. So learn who you are, why you exist, and how you shall exit, and how you will come to be. That's the question now. I think everybody's feeling is, who are we going to be in the next 6 months, year, 2 years, 4 years? What is America going to be? What is my place in America going to be? Because as they're changing things so quickly and so fast, whether you like it or not, it's going to change your life and your world and how you do things. You're going to go through a great time of readjusting yourself as what it means to be a citizen of the planet itself and of America. And that's why we really need to make sure we're in touch with the guidance and leadership of the spirit world.
Yes. Yes.
You need to call in new guides that you've never had before. There's a whole set of new light beings that are ready to position themselves, who can't because the guide you've had can't take you any further. I'm just saying this in spirit right now. But they too, you got to understand, angels and guides are trying to evolve. There's tens of thousands of angels. There's archangels. There's fairies and earth angels. There's all these levels of angels in the Bible, and they too, like us, are trying to incarnate and go to the next level. And some of them, I'm hearing this in the spirit, but I'm to tell you that some of your guides and angels has led you to where they were to lead you, and they're through, and they're ready to move on in, and some new ones are coming in that are 100% pure light. Take a breath. I hope you got that in your spirit. Did you get that? Yeah. Whole new guidance is getting ready to show up in your life. So, how you will come to be, that's important. Since you will be called my brother, is it not fitting? It is not fitting for you to be ignorant of yourself. That seems to be the theme that Jesus had, was true, authentic identity. It's in all that he says. Know who you are. Quit worrying about understanding all the philosophies and the theologies and all of the stuff. First, know who you are. This must be your cornerstone of creating divine Christ consciousness. And it starts with, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life, I am the bread that cometh down from heaven, and they shall eat of me shall not die. I am the light, I am this, I am that. That is where we have to start. He said you have to know who you are. I know that you have understood, because you have already understood that I am the knowledge of the truth. You don't know how much I love that, because of my experience of trying to find the truth. I'm talking about the capital T, truth. Remember? Stood before Pilate. Pilate said, Jesus, tell me the truth. Jesus said nothing. Back to Pilate. He just stood there in the presence of his own I am. And he was saying, in the absence of words, I am the truth with a capital T. So I am the knowledge of the truth. So while you accompany me, although you are uncomprehending, in other words, you're not going to get everything that I say now, but it will come to you as seeds grow in good soil. So shall the seeds of my word, logos, show up in the garden of your consciousness when the right environment, right time is ready. In other words, when you're in season. When you're in season. This garden, if we plant something, isn't going to happen until it's the right season. And you've got a lot of seeds in you that hadn't activated yet, because you haven't entered the right season of consciousness. When it does, you're going to become an Eden, a garden of so much. You have already come to know, and you will be called the one who knows himself. For he who has not known, now this is like everything else in the masculine, so let's say one who does not know oneself has known nothing. But he who has known himself has at the same time already achieved knowledge about the depths of the all. So all you can know about the truth with a capital T is I am. That's your truth. Now everything else is going to be kind of entertainment. Now you're going to build what is true for me. Please get that. Every one of you are building your house on the cornerstone of I am the truth. And how are you doing that? The things you've been led to study, the things you've been led to read, how you have gathered what is true for you, what's resonated. And the thing is, what has resonated as being true for you hasn't necessarily resonated at this time what is true for me. So this is the challenge of places like HeartLight, is how do we keep our individualized, authentic self and not lose ourself into some pseudo-self that they are telling me that I am. So every one of you, we acknowledge the path you're on and the path that is bringing you resonance on how that you're building your house of what is true. But you got to realize, in doing that is not going to bring you to what is the truth. The truth has to be first. You have to know who you are first, then you build on what is true for me in this lifetime. And that's why a lot of you have been drawn toward more unities teaching, or some science of minds teaching, or whatever else has been out there. There's been a lot of them. Course in Miracles. Some people are just sold on Course in Miracles. It's the only thing they want to hear is a Course in Miracles. And then you got people saying Kabbalah, and they go to every Kabbalah meeting there is, and it's all about studying Kabbalah. So everybody's kind of got the thing they're drawn toward that is uniquely different from those that are also experiencing different drawings toward different teachings and whatever. And I think we do pretty good here of keeping ourselves at some level as a community of people and still not lose ourselves in the community. I hope that makes some sense. It's hard. So then you, my brother Thomas, have beheld what is obscure to men and what they ignorantly stumble against. Okay? Now the word ignorant is used here, and it's also used in the Bible, but I'm fascinated that it's used in these more pure interpretations. But it's kind of a hard word. But if you understand that the word ignorant is translated from the word that means unenlightened. Doesn't mean you're stupid or you're ignorant. It means that you're unenlightened of something. You're still in the dark about it. And that's the dark part of you. The dark part of you is not that it's not there. It's just you haven't turned the light on. So you come in here and you've never been to HeartLight. You've never been in here, and you're coming at 9 o'clock tonight, and you come in and it's totally dark. The lights won't work. What are you going to do? You're going to run into things. You're going to try to find your way through here. And then somebody comes along who knows how to run the lights back there, which is a art within itself for some of us.
You're welcome.
I'm still learning the tablet of how to turn the lights on. But once the lights are on, I go, oh, I know exactly where I'm going. I'm going from up to here. There's a whole aisle right there where there's no obstacles in it. So I don't have to wander around out here in the chairs and bump my knee on everything and trip over things, because I've got a clear path. I'm the way. I'm looking for the way. All right. So that's what ignorance means. It just means I'm not enlightened about something. I've not been made aware of it yet. It is obvious to me that the truth is and can be difficult to perform before men, and that's true. People are not just lined up to hear things that they don't believe already. People have so much ego that they don't like to be or feel in any way that they're being told they're wrong about something. The ego does not like that. And it takes a real spiritual person to be willing to be corrected by Spirit, not by the teacher, the preacher, the Spirit. That's the only one that you want to correct you is the Spirit. Okay? I'm not trying to correct you. I'm just throwing out data fast. Isn't that right? Throwing it out fast because it's coming fast right now. The portal is open and things have sped up. And time is winding down because Spirit is speeding up. 5D is speeding up. 3D is losing its momentum. You say, well, it doesn't look like it. That is why you see what's going on out here. Because there is no more, I'm going to try to get this over to you. The time of grace is over. Grace was never meant to be your destiny. Grace is grace to help you get to your destiny by being patient with you even when you're undeserving of it. Grace is a period. I used to get bills. Remember you used to get a bill in the mail? And the payment was due on the 1st, but you had till the 10th. That's called a grace period.
Yeah.
And we've been under grace for the last 2,000 years when Yeshua brought the age of grace out of the age of law. We've been in grace. A lot of grace has been given to us. But that 10th day is here now. You got to pay up. You got to pay up. And that's what's happening to all of our karmic debt. All the debts that we have built up in our 3D incarnations is all surfacing as our pathologies upon the body politic, individually and collectively. Politics, religion, education, financial system, everything. Everything now is showing up as a righteous judgment. And I'm leery to use that word, but I'm using righteous judgment is different than judging. You can't be without judgment. That's the most ridiculous thing. People say, I have no judgment. Yeah, then keep your mouth shut and tape it up because everything you say is a judgment. You have an opinion. What do you think an opinion is? So we might as well have righteous judgments, which means we're in the right place of the Spirit in us, looking at things from a spirit point of view than a human point of view. That's righteousness in a right state. So what I'm telling you, there's nothing wrong with having some opinions about some things right now. But you want to see it from a spiritual point of view. Now Thomas said to the Lord, therefore I beg you to tell me what I ask you before your ascension. When I hear you from about hidden things, then can I speak about them? It is obvious to me that the truth is difficult to perform before men. In other words, it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge to get through the world of perception and belief systems and all that people have kind of clothed themselves in. You've got to pierce through it. I feel that sometimes when I'm speaking, and always have. When people say to me, I had a call this week from Indianapolis, somebody listening, and said, I just had to call and tell you that I knew the moment you hit it, because your voice was kind of bad. You were talking about how your voice got clear, and you hit that zone right there. I know what that is. And then when I do that sometimes, I get a little louder, and people go, oh, there he goes preaching. There he goes. No, what I'm doing is I am so energetically piercing through your ego garment. your defense mechanisms of your brain to get to your heart and to your spirit. And sometimes you can't do that softly.
That's good.
You have to do it in power. It's not by might, it's not by power, it's by my spirit. So sometimes you have to change the frequency. That's what I'm doing. I'm not trying to be all Pentecostal and preachy. I'm trying to change the vibration and the frequency to bypass your defense mechanisms and get to your spirit. And that part of the spirit that is ready to hear me will hear me in you.
Yes.
It'll hear me in you. The Savior answered, saying, if the things that are visible to you are obscure to you, how can you hear about things that are not visible?
That's good.
If the deeds of the truth that are visible in the world are difficult for you to perform, how indeed then shall you perform those that pertain to the exalted height and to the pleroma, which I looked up is the totality of divine powers. It's the powers that come together of enlightenment, which are not visible. How shall you be called laborers? I really like that. The word laborers here to me is co-creators, people who are activating as light workers. The parable in the Bible is the harvest is ripe and ready, but the laborers are few. I'm glad you know the little Bible. The harvest is ready, but the laborers are few. This is why this is no time for you to let yourself get into a state of indifference.
Okay.
That's just a nice word for being spiritually lazy. It's time that you find something to involve yourself, that you be involved in. Don't be on the sideline right now watching the parade go by. That's not a good place to be. And that's why we need to continue to talk more about our co-creative position and what we can do and how we can find our purpose for this time. In this respect, you are apprentices. Now that word's interesting because that word, apprentices here, is a word that is in Psalms 82. For God stands in the congregation and judge among his gods. G-O-D-S. And God judges among the gods. The word gods is representatives. And God judges among his gods or his representatives. Some of you have to come to a place to realize you're here to represent the truth and represent the light. That is your job. And you'll never be happy until you're aligned with the purpose of what you came here to do and be. Nothing will ever fill that place in you.
Teach.
And then it goes on, if you remember that, I love this. It says, and he judges among his gods. And here's what he says to his representatives. What's wrong with you? Don't you know the world's off course? How can you keep accepting the persons of the wicked? Don't you know who you are? Why? Now get this. Why do you lay down and die like the princes of this world? Don't you know you are the children of El Elyon, the Most High God? That's 8 little verses in that book. Look it up and read it. God standing. I tell you, and when God stands in you, watch out, because your life's going to be shaking as you've never been shaken before. Because that means God is saying, okay, enough grace, I'm taking over. You told me I could before you came. You signed a contract with me, and now we are going to activate those contracts in spite of you. And that's when your life's going to go into a tailspin if it hasn't already. Because you didn't come here to be a Christian. You didn't come here to be anything but a representative of light and the truth. And I have to stop because I have to let you ask questions now. So we got a little over 10 minutes. So you are open now to any remarks or questions.
So I got busy contemplating what you were saying and missed part of it when you were talking about you've got to, basically know yourself. You've got to know the truth before you can know yourself. Right. And you've got to build,
Well, that's not correct.
Oh, well, I understand.
When
That's
you know
why-
the truth, you know. When you know the self, you know the truth.
Okay,
It's
all
not
right.
before you know
It's,
the truth.
well, but you used the word before, so I got hung up there, so thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So that's a good correction. I like that. Nothing wrong with that.
So, if English is the language of technology, then what you said about the other languages like Sanskrit and ancient Hebrew and Aramaic is like, I was thinking, oh, that is like why there were so many Jews in Germany, because they had that guttural talk. So German is a feeling language. Just like there's a word in Dutch, like there's German, Dutch, and then English. And so I had that aha moment that the English can't find one word for Gezelligheid, which in German is Gemütlichkeit. So there is a word in German, there's a word in Dutch. The English don't have it.
Don't have it.
They
Very
need a
good. Good point.
sentence for it.
Very good.
What is the name? What is it?
Well,
Yeah,
it's
what
hard
does it
to
mean?
explain. It is like when you're with your family together, and it's like the closest come probably coziness, but it's not it. Okay, so like you can't just put that there. So
Good point, good
there
point.
is like a feeling part in the German and the Hebrew and those Aramaic languages
Yes.
that we don't get when we get it translated from the Greek or from the Latin to the English.
Contentment
Well,
of the heart.
I really like that.
There, oh, she said it.
Said
Say
what?
it again.
Contentment of the heart.
Contentment of the heart.
Contentment of the
Well,
heart.
it's like it's coming from the heart. That's what I heard you say, and my hair is standing up.
Okay, but okay, that was a good, but it's kind of like that. In other words, if there's not an English word for it, we can say words that are like that, but it's not it.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah,
And that is how.
and
it
that's
is.
what I like what you're saying, because when that happens, the ego mind finds a word
That has to
that
do.
that has its agenda in it and puts it in there.
And that is what happened with religion. Because when we translated them in English, we translated them to the experience that the English have, not the experience that happened at the time of Jesus.
Yeah.
So that's where that metaphysical part comes in, because
Okay.
it's a matter. I'm sorry. Like I thought it was
No.
10 minutes to be able.
Yes,
to have
but
an
not the whole
aha
10
moment.
minutes. Let's let
I know.
everybody.
I know, but
Point out. Let her get her point out.
yeah,
Okay, no.
it's like you keep interrupting me,
All right,
and
all right. all
and
right.
like you keep taking over. So it's like I'm trying to get the point across that there is a language part that is, I wouldn't say lacking, but that's where the communication is different, because we can't find the same words. So they don't always resonate the same way. So they're a different frequency.
And that's why we need light language.
Yes, thank you.
That's the only one.
Yes.
That's the only one. There's
There
nothing
goes-
else.
Yeah.
The light language is going to be the pure language. But I do thank you for bringing that up, because I think that's an important point. I do want to tell you that in this Nag Hammadi book, there are missing words. They did not get every word. And I think that's amazing, because I think those is where the Spirit can put in.
That they didn't fill it in, for
Yeah,
one thing.
yeah, there's a lot of empty spaces here that was lost when they was translating it, but I don't think it's lost in us. I think those are ways Spirit can come forth and give to us that. But I do appreciate that. I think it's a good point, and I think that is why we have to realize that speaking Spirit is speaking Spirit.
So then light language is universal.
It's very
It's
universal.
like like I'm trying to taste the word, but it's like unique, and it's it enlightens everyone then in the whole world.
Okay, anybody else, real quickly? We have a few more minutes.
Well, on the topic of what she's saying about language and what you're saying about light language, human language versus light language and all those things. Remember when we had classes over in the lighthouse and it was just a few of us and we started coming early and doing intercessory prayer?
Yes.
And you were speaking in tongues or light language at
Yes.
the time, and you know, that was very moving to me. I came to that my own self.
Yeah.
Through hearing that and through all of that. And the reason why using light language during intercessory prayer, so intercessory prayer is to intercede using Spirit and all of that, speaks to the fact that light language can be heard in some way as a frequency to all of us, even though we're not understanding the actual words or sounds. We're understanding in a different way, and it's like you said, spirit language. So it is without borders. Which I think it makes me want to have intercessory prayer again.
I do too. I miss it.
And I do too.
Okay. I'm more than glad to have intercessory prayer. I based intercessory prayer on what it says, for when we knoweth not how to pray, the Spirit knoweth how to pray.
Every time you say that, I need to cry.
So
So much.
this is the thing that concerns me about all these prayer things coming in. Every one of us are praying the way we think it ought to be. If somebody is not well, they should be, if somebody's sick, then we don't want them suffering. But I think if I prayed in the Spirit may say, this is a part of their contract, and this is one of the biggest growth spurts in their life right now, and you want to pray it away. So you can't use prayer to manipulate things. And that's our subject this Sunday, by the way, is prayer. That's our next one on our articles here at HeartLight that we're looking at will be prayer. Yes, Dolores.
Yes, I'm thinking about what I learned a long time ago is one doesn't want everybody praying for you.
That's right.
No, you don't.
You know, and the same thing is happening when I'm being asked to pray for someone. And I do think about, of course, I've always called it speaking in tongues because of some of my background.
Yeah.
But it does say that when we don't know, then that is the way to pray. And the truth is that we don't know all about that individual or even a business or whatever circumstances that we are being asked to pray for. And I am so excited the more that we move in the direction of using light language and being about intercessory prayer.
I'm for it. Any suggestions I'm open for to when to do an intercessory time. where it fits in. I'd like
Right now, right here.
I'd like to know when we could have a specific time, like we did over there. You know, we did on Wednesday mornings before exercise
Well,
or
what
something.
I'm just hearing right this second is,
About 10
in that so many organizations, from religion to spirit to, you know, whatever, have other types of meetings than just Sunday and Wednesday. For those that are interested in intercessory prayer, it could be such and such a day on such and such a time. Everybody tune in at whatever time. I'm not saying that it has to be recorded. It could be personal. You know, we all know we're doing that. Throw out a concept, throw out a something, but we all show up in our own personal time to do that.
Yeah, I guess so. Of course, my first thought is to do it without filtering it through technology.
I was gonna say that's too English.
I don't know if I want to do it through the computer or through.
Oh, well, then we would just, then we
That's a
would just
filter.
tune
That's
it
a
in.
filter.
We would, so, we wouldn't,
I say we should do it at 10 o'clock on Wednesday mornings before we come over here and do exercise.
We're just then all bringing more of our baggage. That's why I kind of was like, right here, right now, is when we all have felt like that lightning spark that you're bringing in. So that's, like, can you give an example of it for like 5 minutes?
Of what?
Like, are we done?
I'm not going to just make it happen. No.
Is that 12?
No, we're not going to just make
Yeah,
it
well,
happen.
that's why I'm asking it after 12. Like, I'm like, so that.
Yeah. But anyway, let's contemplate it and see how Spirit would want us to put this into the other things that we meet and do here for that. I'm totally open for any time you want to do it.
To make a case for it, right now we're all tuned in. And so it doesn't take much effort to get that
Yeah.
next step.
All right. Well, if you would help with our love offering for the class, I'd appreciate it. Thank you for your support. Keep it going. And Sunday will be, as I said, on prayer day. Will be prayer day, which will be a wonderful kind of segue into what we're talking about right now. To talk about prayer and spirit prayer and all that. So this might be a good way in to use Sunday to talk on the subject of prayer. Somebody else could do that, Rhonda.
sorry.